Hey now Brawlers, we're going to change things up a little bit today and talk about a digital game. In this case, it's the digital version of Star Realms, which is a very fun deck building game, which you might remember I reviewed the physical version of it a few months ago and gave it a very glowing review, because while it's very similar to Ascension, which I still think I might like a little bit more than this game, it's very in your face, it's very fast. As a two-player game, it excels. A lot of deck builders are not good as two-player games. This one is the opposite. I think that's the best way to play the game. And now they have a digital version of it, which at the time that I'm filming this video, I believe I've been playing the PC version. That was part of the Kickstarter rewards that I got, was that I get to be a beta tester for the online version, so I've been playing that for a couple of months. But I think that is technically still in beta stages, but the Android version of the game went live a couple of days ago as of the time of me recording this, and the iOS version should be coming out soon. So it's going out to more and more and more people, so there's more and more people playing it, there's more people actually showing up in the gaming lobby there, so I thought it was worth mentioning and just reviewing how good the game is and how it makes that transition from the physical game into the digital arena. So there's no real overview here, because it's not like I can just take video and just show you that and walk you through it. But for those that don't know what Star Realms is, this is a deck building game. Like I said, it's very similar to Ascension in the sense that you, like any deck builder, you get your starting hand of cards, but rather than have specific allotments of cards to purchase, you have what I would call the starting lineup of cards. So you have the big center deck, you'll pull 5 cards out of that deck, line them up, and then you use the cards that you have to purchase them. You have scouts, which give you trade, which is the main currency for buying things in this game, and then you have combat power, which you get from Vipers that you start off with 2 in your starting deck, which in this case, each player has life points, which I think are actually called authority, and your goal is not to just get victory points, it's to wipe out your opponent. In the physical version, if you have more copies of the game, you can actually do team versions of the game or just a big multiplayer deathmatch, but I think the game is really meant to be played with 2 players, and I think it excels at that, as I mentioned before. But whether or not you're talking about the physical game or the online game, you're using your trade in order to buy new and better cards, like any deck builder, to put into your deck to make yourself more powerful, but at the same time, you're trying to focus on cards that give you a lot of combat power, because your goal is to destroy your opponent. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. The main thing that sets us apart from a lot of other games as well are the different factions. Now, games like Ascension have factions as well, but there's an interesting color restraint system here where for a lot of the different cards, if you play a card of one faction and then play another card that's of the same faction, they will key off special abilities on each other. So something like, I think it's the Imperial Frigate, might give you 4 combat and make your opponent discard a card, but if you play another Imperial card, they might get more, that card boosts up and gives you more combat, or maybe discards another card, things like that. Or the blue faction is all about giving you a lot of trade, but also a lot of extra authority points. You can actually gain life back, essentially. And so for those, it might be play a card, get some authority, play another blue card, and you get even more authority. Things like that. There's also an interesting concept in bases, which are kind of like artifacts or constructs in other deck builders, where the bases will stay in play and give you recurring abilities that could also be keyed off by having faction colors. But also, some bases have to be attacked first because they have hit points before they're called outposts. They have to be attacked first before they can get through to your life points, so it can be an important defensive measure. Now, all of this stuff is in the online game as well. And what I can tell you about the online game is that it's just like its physical version, it can be a very fast game. I mean, if you're playing against the AI. If you're playing against the AI, and if you have the unlocked version, you'll have different difficulty levels. There's a campaign mode as well. Then it's definitely a very good, very fast experience. More so than other deck builders that I've played either in real life or online. You just, it's just, there is some strategy to the game, of course, but it's very quick and easy to decide what to do on your turn. You're trying to look for those combos. You're trying to pick color-specific cards, the cards you've already bought, and just trying to figure out what your playstyle is going to be. Are you just going to go as aggressive as possible? Are you going to try to balance out by having more bases for defensive purposes? Are you trying to play the long game, or just get in there and destroy your opponent as quick as possible? All these things translate to both versions of the game very well, and it feels very fast. Now, what didn't translate well, and one of my complaints about the digital version of the game, there's a lot of cards missing. I actually hadn't played the physical version in a couple of months because I've been playing the online version, and I always had this thought, like, something seems like it's missing here. Weren't there more cards? And sure enough, when I busted out the original physical version the other day, I was like, I don't even remember these cards. There's so many cards I forgot about from the physical version that just are not in the online version. And it's really disappointing, actually. I know why they're doing it. They're going to have a paid add-on at some point. And I get that. I mean, that's the reality of doing this, because you can actually download the version of this game for free, the online version, and if you pay, you just unlock some extra features. But you can play just against the AI and stuff like that, and I think you can even do online play for free. But if you want more campaign stuff, if you want like pass and play, then you have to pay extra. So it's kind of fine with me if they want to charge for expansions, but some of those cards are really cool, and I just wish that they were in the base game, especially since I know they have even more expansions on the way, so I don't really see the point in that. So that's a minor gripe. Not really, it's kind of a moderate gripe, but that's okay. One thing that does bother me that's a little more serious is the way that online matches are handled. Now, I had started playing Hearthstone a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of it so far, but that's another thing. Or maybe I'll do a review of that at some point. But in Hearthstone, it does something that I like, in that when you start an online match, you're in it. You cannot bounce out of that match and go to another match. And in fact, even if you could do that, there's a timer. So you only have, like, I don't know, is it 1 minute, 2 minutes to make your decision on your turn. You have to play your cards, do what you're going to do, and pass it over to the next player, or else, you know, I don't even know what the penalty is. I'm scared to find out. You might have to lose the match or take some sort of penalty. I don't know. Or your turn just ends and you do nothing. So that just keeps it moving very briskly. So when you start a match of Hearthstone, you are committed to it. And I like that about it. In this game, you can start a match with someone, exit the game, and go do whatever. Which means it can be very difficult to finish matches, and when you have multiple matches going on at once, it's very difficult to remember what your strategy was and what you were trying to do. Luckily, you can always sift through your deck and see what cards you've purchased before and sift through your discard pile, so you can be like, well, okay, I guess I'm going for blues, so I'll just keep buying blues because I don't remember what I was doing before. But really, just from the standpoint of being impatient, which I know is not a venerable trait, but it kind of sucks that you have to wait around for people. I wish that it was just start a match, time limit, finish it. I mean, that would make this game great, and I think that there should definitely at least be the option of doing that when the game gets padded out a bit more and when it becomes available for other platforms. As it is now, I like this a lot. I've become strangely addicted to it. There's part of me that there's something in the back of my mind that just, if I stop to think about it too long, I'm just like, this is just Ascension with direct combat. It's not that different. But really, it is. It's just so fast, and it's so, like, streamlined. And if they just add more cards to this online version and fix that whole thing with having to wait for people to come back to the game and just pumping out a match whenever you want to and just finishing it right then and there, this would be a fantastic game. I would dump even more time into it, but still, even as it is, it's really good. I've heard that I have it on PC, like I said. I've heard that some Android users, depending on your device, have been having some issues with it, so you should definitely look into that before you decide to pay for the full version. You know, just download it and try it first, or look at other reviews and see who's been having what issues on what device, but otherwise, I highly recommend it. It's good to get in there now, see the changes that they're going to make, and get used to the game before they start unlocking new stuff. Very simple, very fast, very fun. At Star Realms, the physical version, the online version, highly recommended. And if you want to challenge me, my name on the digital version of Star Realms is BG Brawl. Board Game Brawl, BG Brawl, because I couldn't fit it all on there. All right? So, my name is Nick. This has been a somewhat odd episode of Board Game Brawl. And I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day in every way. Take care.